me against Brexit. And when I realized how disheartened they were, and when especially I saw very able journalists like Evans Pritchard of The Telegraph, who shared my view against Brexit a few weeks before, turned towards Brexit, that's when I knew that Brexit was probably going to win. And last week before the American election, the extreme confidence of the Clinton camp confirmed my worst fears. Trump was going to win.
So the tectonic plates have very much shifted. President Obama in Greece now, in the dying days of his presidency, what can he achieve?
Oh, precisely nothing. I so much wish that he had visited us about a year and a half ago when we had one government, beginning of 2015, when we were trying to put forward a sensible New Deal for Greece that would have been good for us and good for our European partners, our creditors. President Obama at the time, when we were elected, made some very polite and generous noises about the new Greek government and the importance of ending austerity. But unfortunately, he did not back it up with action, and he allowed his Treasury Department effectively to side with Berlin, and in the end crash the Greek government and extinguish all hope for Greece and for Europe, for that matter. So this trip is a very nice trip for him to make. I'm sure that he's going to enjoy it in the dying weeks of his presidency under a cloud created by Mr. Trump. But it is utterly irrelevant.
Yeah, and he is going to be talking about globalization and urging Donald Trump to resist the urge of isolationism. When you look at what is going on around the world, I mean, what are your predictions going forward in terms of nations turning in on themselves and becoming more isolationist?
What we must understand before we proceed to potential remedies, we must understand the predicament we find ourselves in. We are in a kind of postmodern 1930s. Just like after 1929, after 2008, the global economy has not managed to recover from that shock. And we have an incongruity. We have the largest level of savings as a proportion of planetary GDP and one of the lowest levels of investment. And that creates deflationary forces. And you know what? Deflation, as we found out in the early 1930s, breeds political monsters. So unless we find a way of pushing investment up in the West, in places like the European Union, Britain, and the United States, the populism and the process towards disintegration and isolationism that you referred to is going to continue.
And the populism looks like a shift to the right.
Well, isn't that what happens during periods of deflation? Remember the early 1930s? It was not the left that rose up. It was the worst instincts and the most vulgar political forces that Europe could conjure up.
Just hearing actually some words from President Obama. He's been talking. He's said that austerity alone cannot deliver prosperity. That's the message he's going to be pressing upon his European allies. I mean, that is something, obviously, that Greece has learned the hard way, hasn't it? I mean, 6 years of austerity. Where does Greece go forward from here? Is there any sign of recovery in the Greek economy?
No, it's not possible to implement the same austerian policies. Look, the Greek economy it has broken down a long time ago. We have a bankrupt state, we have bankrupt banks, we have bankrupt companies, and we have bankrupt corporations. So everybody owes to everyone else and no one can pay. And Europe, in its infinite wisdom, thinks that it can solve this problem by means of more loans to a bankrupt entity under conditions that shrink its income. A 5-year-old can tell you that this is not working. And President Obama is saying precisely that. When I was talking to him in April 2015 in Washington, he said, in very unpresidential terms, the same thing to me. Unfortunately, when he was still not a lame duck president, but a real president, he did not carry this through. He did not pressurize Berlin to end this extend and pretend strategy for Greece. And now it's just too late.
Yanis Varoufakis, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Our headlines on BBC Newsroom Live. Syrian activists say that warplanes have hit rebel-held eastern Aleppo in the first